Parliament of Uganda has recently been under the spotlight over a perceived lack of accountability and oversight relating to irregular disbursements of large sums of money. The management of the August House has been under scrutiny, and there are concerns that a parliament whose integrity is questionable cannot hold other branches of government to account. Tonight we delve deep into these issues and more. Welcome to On the Spot. Mr. Anderson Burora, former Deputy RCC Rubaga Division, thank you so much for joining us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Kamara.
Senior Citizen and my friend, Captain Francis Babu, thank you for honoring our invitation. Good evening.
Thank you very much. Good evening. On this great evening, there's been some rain today.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit chilly outside.
Some relief because of the heat.
It's good when we get rain. It brings about a sense of coolness. And
even though some of us who drive very small cars, you wonder when you're in downtown, you could get swallowed by the flash floods.
yeah.
Mr. Former RCC Rubaga Division, the last time I checked that you had been given a suspension from the job you so much loved and you worked for in the city and the division of Rubaga. Do you have an idea why would you be put on suspension? Have they explained to you? What crime did you commit, Anderson?
Well, the crime was basic, making comments about what is happening in public offices, such as the legislature, whereby so many allegations flying around. It is said that I was not supposed to comment about them or even give an opinion without clearance. Something I found so disturbing because my job description and the instructions I have to do the work is to talk about the ills, to popularize the government, to ensure that the government is in good books with the people, raise their concerns to different platforms. That forms part of my job description, but to the contrary, I did not know that there are those who are immune to scrutiny and criticism, which was not given to me initially. So that led to my suspension from work. And I think with a little bit of coercion by the Speaker of Parliament, something I find a little bit disturbing because it has been seen on different platforms. You remember it has gone to the executive when the State Minister of Lands, Honorable Namuganza, woke up to respond back to the Speaker. She was suspended.
Wait a minute, Anderson. How do you even bring in the name of the Speaker? She's not your immediate supervisor. She's not your appointing authority. How do you even reach that conclusion that there was coercion from her?
Yeah, there was coercion because even my suspension letter was copied to her. It is irregular that such a communication will be copied to the...
So you want to assume that the Speaker of Parliament has so much power that she's even influencing the executive because you're a representative of the President in Rubaga Division.
Yeah, and
and how does the Speaker come in?
That is my question, and I think
because that's your imagination.
I think not an imagination, because it was cited in my my caution, and my boss has gone on to say, my supervisor has gone on to say that I was cautioned not to speak about the Speaker. So it is not an imagination; it is a reality.
Are you an angry man because of what is going on?
Well, I am angry, and actually, I am emotional and angry at the same time, not because of my suspension, but because of what is happening. I was telling you different scenarios whereby the minister has been censured from Parliament for not being in good books with the Speaker. We have journalists who have been suspended from media houses because of making statements. You had Kunga and Muyanga being suspended from one of the media houses. We have a number of young reporters in Parliament who have been suspended from Parliament for reporting what is right. And now, before we talk about the impunity, before we talk about the corruption, before we talk about this, there are certain spaces that must be protected. There are specifics. Expression has no limit. And criticism is supposed to be taken in good faith because this is a public office. And what is disturbing is we can fight with the state because
you are supposing that the Speaker of Parliament has so much power even to control what goes on in the media houses, but not right here where you are, that she can actually influence the hiring and the firing of a media house, the suspending of some journalists, which I find it very hard to believe.
Onyango, who is a reporter of NTV, has his access card has been cancelled from Parliament. What did he do? I can read you a list. Judy Bukenya of Akabozi, he has been in jail. His phones are still with parliamentary police. His file is open at police. What did he do? We have reporters of Observer, we have reporters of Red Pepper, we have reporters of Parliamentary Watch, we have reporters, the list is endless. What have they done? So it is not an assumption. It is a reality that we must face. I was telling you that much as we can deal with the state, because the state has much to do with power contestation, has much to do with a lot of struggles, but it cannot be a house of representatives of the people, that it is the one fighting with people instead. Because, hold on, because Parliament is the only hope for the people, is the only center where all people who work in that space are sent by people, are elected by people.
They have the mandate of the people.
They have the mandate of the people. So now if it turns that now the house where, a place where hope, the only hope for people in all aspects now is turning against, because you remember when the speaker was in Bukedia, he said, the president, you are the only one now. You are the only one now. Meaning, she has lost popularity, she has lost trust, she has lost the credibility even to run a parliament. The fact that she can stand to say, it is only you who understand me, it is only you who can protect me, who knows my value. That means there is a very big crisis before we then talk about other issues, because a parliament, the only thing you can hold with it is credibility, is trust, is ensuring that it is a people's center where their concerns are raised, where there are laws. Well, if a parliament that makes laws has started breaking laws, how do you expect Ugandans to respect law and order?
Let me come to you, Senior Citizen Captain Francis Babu. You have served this government diligently for quite some time. You've been a member of parliament, you've been a minister, many things in Kampala Central, where we are right here, is even your home. Is speaking truth to power in this town such a crime for a politician if he comes out to speak their mind? Just like, with all respect, a young man and RCC for Rubaga division seemed to have found himself in trouble for having tried to speak truth to power.
I would have wanted to see that later. And, but let's look at 203, which is the constitutional part which brings about the RDC, or RCC in this case. There shall be for each district a resident district commissioner who shall be a senior civil servant appointed by the president. Let me go back to this word, senior civil servant. Now, the function of a resident district commissioners, apart from those given by the president, which are usually what you call presidential orders, they are basically to represent the central government in that particular district or town or city. And therefore, once you become a senior civil servant, you are not allowed to say certain things, unfortunately. you're virtually curbed. If people, and this is what I keep on saying, if the government has turned around and has given these people other mandate to overcome this word senior civil servant, then the government is wrong. Since I was a kid, we had people called district commissioners in this country, and that's where the civil service started. And they would go up in the system. For example, Burora now would not only remain a resident, he would go into different ministries. They would appoint him an administrative officer, senior, and so on and so forth, until permanent secretary level. Now, apart from that, if they use this one, they're right to say that he was not supposed to talk about politics. But let's look at another point. Assuming this is a security covert investigation, and he's the head of the security in the city, and then he talks about that particular program, he's breaking the law again, because he's the head of the security. There are investigations going on, I'm quite sure of that. So there are many ways, that's why I would say I would like to look at that later. How was the letter written? Did they refer to this? Did they refer to the security investigation? What was the letter all about? So, Burora him as a person, and even me, what he said, if he was not an RCC, he would be free to say it. But once you're an RCC, there are certain things you must think about. And once they say you're a senior civil servant appointed by the president, I am sorry to say you do not meddle in politics. And what he could have done, being the head of the security in the area, was if there is an investigation going on, and then he says what he says, he's letting the cat out of the bag. So there are many reasons why these people would have written that letter. But as Burora himself, as a person, he's right to say certain things to himself, but not publicly. And this is where I think the problem comes in. Otherwise, the allegations are all over the place. You've been hearing them in the newspapers and everywhere. Even I, who is independent, I have to be very careful what I say. One, I don't have full facts.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I get a lot of it on social media. I get a lot of it as propaganda. I get a lot of it in many different ways. Assuming that most of these things are true, there are state security organs that investigate these things.
That's why you keep calling them allegations.
Yeah, that's right. And therefore, when you jump and say them, and by the way, the law is a very difficult thing. If you mention somebody's name and you attach a certain label on that person, and the person thinks what you're doing is wrong, he can take you to court. All right? Now, all I am trying to say, I've been hearing a lot of things. And by the way, I have one camera, I've got one point. I don't talk about people's names. I do not talk about, I talk about actions. If there are actions in Parliament which are breaking the law, I think they should be investigated and they should be talked about. But be careful to mention people's names, because you might be mentioning the wrong person. And if you are mentioning the right person, then the state organs that are doing that job, yeah, will not feel very happy, because you're letting the cat out of the bag. And the person might even, I mean, in South Africa, I think the speaker has resigned, and they're about to arrest her. Yeah, she went to court and she said that they should not arrest her, and so on and so forth. And then the judge said, no, if I did this, I'd open a floodgate that anybody we want to arrest who is a big person will first come to court, and then we would not arrest them. So I will not do that. Unfortunately, madam, I think you better go and settle your problems by yourself. And now the case they are accusing her of was not in Parliament. It was in the ministry. She was, I think, in an energy...
Minister of Defense.
Minister of Defense. So, as far as I'm concerned, and this is, and by the way, I want to do this out of faith at my age. I want to advise a lot of people that there's a lot of name calling in this country. And sometimes we make mistakes. And sometimes we have to be very careful. You might be saying the right thing, but you better have your facts correct.
Okay.
And this is where my problem is.
Could pause there. Anderson, did you maybe take into account what Captain Francis Babu is writing, that as a civil servant, you are bound to certain kind of ideals and you're supposed to expect it to behave in a certain manner.
Yeah, actually, what he raises is a pertinent issue. And I think in regard to what he's saying, there is nothing that, like being out of context or not being specific. I can take him through a series of issues. Raising issues determines how the allegations are. That is one. 2, is it in the public space? 3, I am Anderson working in Kampala. I am invited on a media house. The discussion is what is in the public space. I am not going to discuss foot and mouth disease that is in Kazo and Isinjiro. I am not going to discuss the floods in Buriende, rather in Manafa. This is the topic at play. 2, is it related? Is it in government? If it is in government, who is responsible? Because what Honorable is trying to say, this is what has kind of disabled our system. That when Burora does an issue, it is accredited to government, and the government takes the blame. The commission of what has been done is protected under that guise of you are a public servant, don't talk. Government, government, government. Now everyone goes away with it. Why don't we hold people accountable? This has nothing to do with security. This has nothing to do with actually name calling. It has something to do with public matters. Public matters all over have no jurisdiction. They have nothing like, don't talk about this, this is sensitive, this one is a very big person. And I've seen
public officials, whether they're commissioners or directors, you want them to speak and they say, let me first get clearance from the PS.
Yeah, that is
true.
Minister. That is true.
So,
as what I am trying to raise here is all of these issues summing up all over repetitively. How do we at the end of the day, yes, I am a public servant, I work in the government, but you see when these criticisms come, they bump into all of us. And you say, hold on, at a certain point, you reach a level whereby you have an IGG, for example. You have police at parliament. You have caucus. You have auditor general.
Okay, looks like my producer's telling me we're going to take a break. Anderson, hold on to your point, okay. And Captain Francis Babu, we're going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back.
Maybe the president appointed you in the wrong job.
Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara, and my guests this evening are Anderson Burora, former Deputy RCC for Rubaga Division, and Honorable Captain Francis Babu, a senior citizen. And we're discussing the issue that resulted into the suspension of the Deputy RCC for Rubaga, who is seated right here, Anderson. And he seemed to have the government seemed to have said he was out of order according to the standing orders of civil service. But now, the issue at hand is there's really hemorrhage of public resources. Grand corruption is in town. It's all over.
I wanted the camera to finish my point. And I wanted to take home Honorable Babu's point of keep quiet. This is not what you're supposed to do. You have to seek clearance all on this. I totally knew what public service standing orders are. And in respect to my conscience, my beliefs, and what I believe is true to service, that's why I welcomed the suspension. That's why I even later took it on myself to ask the president to retire me. Retire me to do what? Do what I think is right. if I am to speak about something that is wrong, let me have my freedom. That is one. But also, it can't be on a matter whereby everyone is distancing themselves. That is one. Two, that you have to be part of it if you are in a government. You have to be part of what is taking place. You must take the blame. You must
collective responsibility.
Collective responsibility. Collective responsibility should be in service delivery. It can't be in abuse. It can't be in matters whereby they discredit a government. Because I am the closest person to the people. If I don't express their feelings, then I am actually disadvantaging them. So to heed to the call of public service standing orders, that's why I chose to say it is okay. The job can be there. And people who think they can watch and keep quiet can occupy the office. But I cannot occupy an office where I am watching this one doing that, another one, you watch a judge driving one way in the morning, rushing to court to convict a hawker who was selling something on the roadside. And at the end of the day, this collective responsibility you are talking about is actually swallowing everyone. And there is a responsibility besides being a public servant.
All right.
There is a responsibility of being a citizen. So,
Captain, listening to Anderson, I'm almost tempted to say he's one of the good ones, but that is condescending. I mean, it takes an honorable man to spot a light, to put a light in, shed a light into his own area and say there's some dirt here, and we need to speak about it. The truth is, something is not right, Honorable Captain Francis Babu, in our society. The point number 7 of President Yoweri Museveni's 10-point program, which is fighting corruption, I think has really given him a headache for almost 40 years. It's only increasing.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point. In fact, we must discuss, and this is where everything is going on. We must discuss that word corruption, according to P.L.O. Lumumba, is a nice way to say it. To him, somebody told him in Africa, it's no longer corruption. No, it's looting at an industrial scale. Now, if you want us to talk about corruption in Africa and in Uganda, it's very important that we talk about it and open it completely. Now, this is where people like my brother Burora here, who was given a job, and the job was, somebody in the Constitution called it a civil service, and he knows the civil service. So they are putting him there. And then they give him instruction to do other things from the president. And those are the things he was trying to do. Now, is the RDC job, are they doing the things they are told to do? Or we have been given a wrong picture in the Constitution? So let's go back to corruption now. Corruption is very polite. These people are not, they are not corrupt. They are dishonest, they are mismanaging this country, and they are just nasty. And the word honesty to them doesn't exist anymore. They have done all sorts of bad things, and not one, many. Now, to discuss this topic, we need to really sit down and dissect it carefully so that people can understand it. Now, corruption, apart from being dishonest, and it's not only bribery, getting money, but even the way you do your job. You could be corrupt in your job. You could be corrupt in the way you teach your students. I've just been listening to, I think, somebody in the university at this other university, where somebody was sexually intimidated a blind woman. And that's corruption. Our mindset has to change. The things we do which are not correct, our people, and they know, the majority of our people know what is going on, but they are looking for a savior, somebody who's going to save this country. And His Excellency, these things he reads about corruption, to me it has become a lip service. We want action. We are tired of people saying good things only. If somebody is corrupt, the other day we had a problem here with corrugated iron. The way that saga, it's like a film, ended in something which is very interesting. We have never even understood where it is going. Other people are saying, thank you very much for having let us, given us up. Some people say, the Mabati flew all the way from the stores to their homes. I mean, really, to ridicule the people in this nation is wrong. And if you do something wrong, you should have the courtesy. Now, a man of Singapore, the man in Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, came out with a simple method. He said, we need people in these positions who have got a meritocracy. We need people who are pragmatic for the country. We need people who are honest. Now, that word honest is not a small word. In Singapore, they don't even have government vehicles. They go to work using public means. Somebody in Europe is going to work as a prime minister on a bicycle. When can we become polite enough and get our people to know that our leaders can put this country on the right track? The corruption in this country need to be stopped. Okay,
Anderson, almost where you turn these days, you'll hear stories of grand corruption. In fact, he said corruption at an industrial scale. What do you think it will take to stop the hemorrhage of public resources that, that is disgusting?
I think what is left now is not in the hands of the law. I am giving you a systems analysis. Right now, if you take, for example, a minister's case in court, seeking to know how they have acquired building A, building C, property that, property this, the next day the DPP will take over the case. Between the IGG and Parliament, there is less than 100 meters. When such allegations come, because investigations are as a result of either public outburst, outcry, or a whistleblower, or even you detecting, because that's why you are an inspectorate. To detect, you have the mechanisms to know. Such dies and you never see. The police within institutions that are supposed to take into account some of these things are actually charging those who are trying to raise red flags. The perpetrators of this have masterminded how to get away. Now, you are legalizing corruption. If you look at the Salaries and the Allowances Act, which prescribes the salaries and allowances of specific officers, which was enacted by Parliament, Parliament did not include itself. Right now, you don't know exactly what salary and allowance an MP can get. It is known within. That Parliament sits, breaks a law, whereby there is even a Supreme Court decision deterring you to do that you cannot charge the consolidated fund without the consultation of the executive. 3 years later, 2 years later actually, you do the same. Because you know you can gag Burora because he is a public servant to get out of the system, therefore there is no platform. So the public cries, the public raises all of these things, and there is no trust now. Even people, because if I am in office, and people fear to come and give me information, but instead I find information on the street, just know now there is no trust even in institutions that are supposed to fight corruption. Now, what you are asking, what can end this? Why these offices, why the law and justice came was to give people opportunity to be judged fairly. At the moment, you cannot judge anyone fairly on an account of abuse of power. Now, what we are likely to see actually back again on the streets, which will spur an altercation on how best things can be done, might end up in mob justice. You have seen people in Rwanda telling the MP, who is a commissioner, we are here suffering, you are in parliament sharing money. You have seen the outburst in the NUP and Honorable Mpuga. You took this money, you took it illegally. So at the end of the day, I think if the people themselves demand, now when you are talking about demand, you may not determine now the measures, you may not determine the means, because that is the level we are at. At the moment, let me tell you, Kamara, why I think this is disgusting. If you sit in a room like this, the people who are supposed to give justice look at each other and they say, Kamara, what are you telling me? You took the other thing. Now you are coming to charge me. That one looks down. He looks at Babu. Babu, yesterday we shared something here. You took it. Now, Babu also looks down. Another comes. But you, what are you trying to tell us? So now there is a college.
No one has a moral authority.
No one has a moral authority
to speak.
To accuse the other. Why am I saying this? Let me refresh your mind. In the committees of parliament, you remember the UNBS boss. He said I had given you something. Had given me, but the board 100 million to keep my job.
Okay, hold on. I remember that.
Let me, I can finish with this, where there is no credibility. In less than 2 weeks, this gentleman was acquitted by an office by an inspectorate.
After saying he had given a bribe of 100 million before a parliamentary committee.
So who is going to accuse the other? Who is going to hold who accountable?
Okay, that's serious. It appears, Captain Francis Babu, that public officials who have position of power are acting in a manner with such a total disregard and no sense of shame. How did you reach here?
Well, we reached here because...
It looks like the system is irredeemable.
I reached here because of our bad manners. But, you know, when we did all this in good faith, you know, the police used to be the only organ that arrested people of corruption. Then we realized there was a band of leaders in this country that, you know, if the policemen went there, they would even slap them. So we came up with the ombudsman, that's the IGG, put him in the constitution, gave him slightly more powers. But the way the IGG has been handled from the time it was formed, if you follow its history, you can see that people have been trying as much as possible to weaken it. And it's reached a point when there's a lot of accusation against the IGG, as I talk right now, allegations, supposedly. But the way they are working, you can see there's something that's not right. So there's that problem. Then there is a problem of creating other organs. You hear the State House this, State House land, State House that. And I remember, I've seen this in other African countries. I was in Nigeria, and they had a special group that looked after customs. There was a problem of smuggling. Then they created another group on top called the ex-customs. Then another one. So, you know, this seems to be our habit. When one group is not working, we create another one. Then the ones you create also become, after some time, inactive. They join the other group. So it is, if you can't beat them, join them. Now, this is going to require, and very seriously too, the president to sit down and review this. As we talk right now, we are having problems with our economy. The administrative costs are too high. We can't even, the weight of parliament alone, with 557 members of parliament, is too heavy for our economy. The 8 ministers or whatever it is, too heavy. We need to cut these people down so that we can now show And time has come that everybody who gets a job is no longer for vote hunting, is no longer for tribe, is no longer religion. We want people with merit. Meritocracy now. Now, to do that, it will have to take the head of state.
Yeah, but the head of state has had an opportunity to serve this country for almost 40 years.
Oh yeah, but you learn every day.
And you think you will get better at 50?
Unlike other people, I never give up. Even after 40 years, we want this country to be improved. So the president has to sit down and say, wait a minute, I'm being told things are wrong. It is up to the president after 40 years to say, wait, I still want to be here, but this must be done, whether he likes it or not. So these 40 years we are counting, it's gone. Now we are looking forward. Is the president willing to look at the problems of corruption, which everybody in this country is, and he has to show it by action, not by lip service. Action speaks louder than words. And the people must be apprehended, and if he feels that it's because of the vote, then it's too bad. Let him lose the votes. Let's have these people.
And before we come back to Anderson, what do you make of the reality that when Anderson decided to speak, and that could have helped the situation by shedding a light in where the problem is, and then people can come to help. They're telling him, you know what, if we first step aside. What does that say of the government he serves, of the government of the day? Because look here, there's a problem.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's why I started with it. I quoted something for you.
Technically, yes.
Then he was kind enough to talk about the civil service standing orders. He talked about it. So what they are trying to do, they put you there to do a job, and then if you don't do it correctly the way they want it, they go to the book. And that's exactly what they did to him. So, but the young men in this country, like him, are many. They want to see change. Not change the president or anything, change in what we do. And I think whoever is watching this, I think time has come not to talk about other people, to think about it, like myself now. Can I change? Let's not talk about somebody else. Can you change yourself? Because what is happening in this country is not good. Please, whoever you are, starting from the head of state all the way down, you are in government, you must change. Things are not right. And I think whether you're a civil servant, whether you're a leader, and stop pretending that you're an angel in a country where things are not going right.
So Anderson, you know, that kind of positive anger, let me call it positive anger, that you got, how can it become infectious?
Yeah. You want to get into question?
I think actually one of the reasons I am not remorse about this, and why I don't even want to beg anyone, because I was told to go and apologize
to
the speaker, that I apologize, then things will be okay. And
who is telling you to do this?
Let's not go deep into that, but I'm telling you.
I know Yunus is your immediate supervisor.
I don't want to seem as if I am. But how can it be infectious? That's why I want to be set free. That is one. Two, that's why I don't want to keep quiet about these things. Kamara, I had a job, I had a car, I get allowances, I get salary, which can sustain my family. I can take care of myself, and I can keep this job for some time. But that is not the case. Every day I go out in the community. Every day I get a security brief. I am told how we have arrested more than 200 young people going to prison.
For what?
Suspected to be criminals, suspected to be some are drug abusers or users. In that regard,
isn't that the normal way of how government does?
I sent them to Luzira for failure to plan. They have worked in KCC. They have never called us for a meeting to see how we can mitigate job unemployment. We have never been called to fight for a community development program or fund, so that we can make
engage
sure
young
we
people,
engage young people and make
busy.
them productive. We have never been called. Every time there is a fight at City Hall, it is a budget of roads, which is a contract. It is either a budget of something like
Markets.
that. Markets. That's what we
So
fight for.
what is this thing I hear of a Myoga parish development model, youth skilling schemes?
No, that is national, and it is limited. It takes a few. It doesn't go across the entire community. It picks a few per parish. You have 100 people per parish, and you have a parish that has about 50 or 60,000 people. We have never been. Wait a moment. Maybe if we are going for commercial.
I'm going for a break. Okay. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'll open the lines so that you too at home or wherever you are, you can be a part of the discussion. You're going to have your say on this show. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amar. My guest tonight, I have Anderson Burora, a former deputy RCC for Rubaga Division, and Honorable Captain Francis Babu, senior citizen, former member of parliament, former minister, former NRM deputy.
Yes.
There's so many things. But what does this say about the NRM party that you love, both of you have served, that has been in charge for more than now 38 years?
I don't think it's the party. It's certain individuals within the party. The party is just something you go and register, and you have different people in it. There are people in this country who hide in parties, who hide in religion, who hide in tribe, they use this to achieve their goals. The party has nothing, it's got no problems. But there are people who manipulate all these parties. And these people have given the wrong impression about certain things. People who believe that they must live a completely different, they must be in control. By the way, the word is animal domination. Okay. They want to dominate.
Let me hear what Ugandans are saying on this issue, because I understand we have people online. Let me take the very first caller online. Hello. Hello. I have a call online. Hello. Okay, looks like I'm having a technical issue. Okay, if you can complete that.
What I was saying, it's nothing to do with NRM. By the way, this party, NRM was formed in 2005, I think. And I was one of the founders. I like a party, any party in this country, all these parties you've heard about, they're there. There are people who go there, manipulate within the party, and give a picture that the party is like this and like that. But these people are there, and that's their job. They create a very bad impression. But yes, let's go back to your question. The question is, the party, when it started, it came as a movement. It brought about the constitution. The first few years was fantastic.
Okay. Let me try to, through my producer, to get some more callers, because I want you to have your say, and this is your moment. There are numbers on the screen. You can pick your phone and tell us what you think, and please keep it civil if you can. I have a call online. Hello. Yes, what's your name, sir, and where are you calling from?
I'm called Roy. I'm calling from UK, London.
You're in the UK, in London?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Roy.
So I just wanted to say something about what Captain Babu is talking about, what needs the head of state involvement. The head of state has not given us clear assurance about the current issues concerning corruption. And if he was to be open and say his stand, I think it would be better. The corruption has been running from the head of state up to the district level. The current efforts are about parliament, about the state, about NRM. I personally worked in the government for 4 years. I resigned for the same reason Mr. Burora is moving away. When you're fighting corruption, people start to look at you as a problem. I reached an extent where people from outside would come to me and say, Roy, we are told that you are the one sitting on our paper. You have refused to sign. What is the problem? this is something you discuss inside office with 2 or 3 people, but an outsider who has interest in what you failed to fraudulently approve is coming to you directly and say, they have told me it's you who has refused. What do you want? So I couldn't take it anymore, and I didn't have the media voice or attention like Burora, so I had to go. So if the head of state openly says that this is his stand, I know people are going to wake up. But what we have seen is he has actually taken a go at IGG and brushed IGG. He made his own IGG. Recently, we have so many allegations against the speaker, and he actually went ahead and congratulated her and said he's doing well. He's aware of how he got the money to do a very big hospital, which someone has done in a record time, which actually the whole government has been defeated to do. So I believe if we have head of state committing, all this will change, because there's a lot hiding, as the captain said, under party, under tribe, and under religion. In Uganda, if you can touch those sensitive parts, if you have a good party to hide under, if you can play the tribal part well, and if you can play the religion part well, you can be corrupt with impunity. So we need the head of state just to say something about it, and all will be well. But I want to thank Burora for standing. Go ahead, my brother.
Thank you very much. That's Roy. He's calling us from the United Kingdom in London. Thank you very much. This is a man who's saying, I was there for 4 years, I worked and I could see this, and no wonder, I hope he's not in a political exile, because he could not stay here.
Well, there are many people who will come and give you those things they're talking about. People call us and they tell us. People tell us, people who are looting, the people in security who are supposed to investigate this, they know. And this is where the unfortunate bit is. Actually, they know who these people are. They can even arrest them. But somehow, there's something that doesn't go right. And I think Burora tried to talk about it. We have a group of people in this country who seem to short-circuit all this. If you wanted somebody to be arrested, to be investigated and arrested, this country have got the people to do it. They're there.
So you have stepped aside. You have actually been asked, you even asked the president to retire you. And then what?
Well, first of all, I won't be blamed for...
Speaking of?
No, for keeping quiet. 2 is to add my voice where I can without restrictions, without telling me this, that, this clause, article that, article this. But also secondly, I think we need to do our citizenry duty, to make sure that we have a system that supports every citizen. And times have changed. Let me tell you, Kamara, I was telling you that I have things that traumatize me at work. They report to you a police officer for extortion. You call this person, try to rehabilitate him, to counsel him, make sure he does his job right. As you are talking, things come up like Babu has taken 2 billion shillings, Kamara has taken 3 billion shillings, another one. Then at the Labor Day, the president says we cannot have a minimum wage because we have not yet reached a level whereby we can increase salaries of civil servants. Then you look at the West, look at the budgets that we are doing today, we are having. I saw you are a budget saying they need 500 million shillings to train people on tax gender-based something. We need you had electoral commission wants 500 million to do a prayer, a prayer service, to have a good election. The budget is actually accrued in a sort of areas that has nothing to do with priorities. Governments prioritize in response to service delivery demands. You don't budget for the sake of having a framework paper taken and passed and money is withdrawn. Everywhere now you go, you find a group of people. Let me give you an example. During COVID, when COVID came, travels, what were cancelled. Can you believe that money that we are going in workshops, travels, this and that was realized was about 5 trillion?
So there's a lot of wastage.
There's a lot of wastage. We need to go back and prioritize. We need to go back and have a budget, a needs-based budget. If you look at why some of us have lost hope and we are not willing to listen, if you read the Auditor General's report, that the Auditor General has the audacity to record a report and go and edit and bring it back, remove what was right and include what is actually now contestable.
Okay, just hold. Because the Auditor General, Captain Francis Babu, what do you make of the fact that the Auditor General is supposed to be the person who's skilled, with the people who have the capacity to look into the books of accounts, and he makes a report after taking some time? The same report is brought to Parliament and given to a committee, this accountability committee, to scrutinize and whatever. Why can't we take that report and then act on it, as opposed to give it to a committee that will say, now we have looked again, we have not found a reasonable one, and then people are left to go? Because I believe the Auditor General has more capacity and more skill and more time to look into public resources, how they've been spent, as opposed to a political committee of Parliament to go through the same.
Unfortunately, it's constitutional. The Parliament is supposed to oversee the budget, how it is being spent and all that. And if the report comes, they're supposed to scrutinize it, and they're supposed, if there's something wrong, they're supposed to give it to the executive arm, which is supposed to investigate. Now,
but are you convinced that a committee of Parliament will have more, will be better placed to look through the books of account than the Auditor General?
Yeah, theoretically it used to be. Right now, I don't think we have we have the meritocracy of looking at it and coming out very clear, because we are hearing a lot of things. Already there's corruption allegations against committees and a certain individual. One of them the other day I read, he said, no, he sent me to go to the institution, they gave me 2 billion, he only gave me 15 million. Now when you hear allegations like those, you begin to get frightened that the chairman sent somebody to an institution to collect money, 2 billion shillings, brought it, and then he only got 15 million. So he was annoyed that he got only 15 million out of the 2 billion. How can he take 2 billion and only give me 15 million? And I knew this is dirty money. So anyway, this is all part of the allegations that are going on. I don't know if they are true. And I want us to be very careful. We are more interested in the IGG saying 10 trillion
is lost.
Is lost every year.
Through corruption every year.
I think that is where, those are facts, according to the IGG. Now, the Auditor General is not alone, it's a team of Ugandans who work there. And we have people there who have joined the wagon. The good ones and the bad ones. But the the Auditor General I know, who has been recognized by everybody, is a very straightforward man. But of course he has got officers. So the whole point is, how do we go about it? I think we need to sit down and review everything. Like our friend from London has said, I think the head of state has to come down with the hammer. Now, corruption has become a nuisance. Now, when something becomes a nuisance in a country, you need to look for possible methods that, now in China, if you're corrupt, you know what happens?
You could die.
You die. If you're found with the drugs in Malaysia, what happens? For life. So the question would be, if it is a nuisance in Uganda now, corruption, what do we do? And I think we don't need the feeble minds here. We need people who are really serious, who love this country, with the little resources we have, how do we manage the scarcity, the few resources? A few minutes ago, I was talking about young people who are being arrested because of consuming drugs and all that. But it's not only that. We have 4,000 people, homeless people living in this town. The question is, how do we help our people? We are supposed to be leaders who are going to help our people. Now, these young people who are being arrested, who are street children, we call them street children, we call them all sorts of names, we are supposed to take them to a rehab, not to Ruzira prison. We need a rehab. And Abu Tabika is full. We need another. We need about 5 Butabikas in Uganda now with the kind of population we have. And we need them to be of very high standard. So there are many things that demand the little resources we have. So we cannot afford this new sense of corruption to continue.
So Anderson, having said all this, having witnessed the filth, the grand corruption and all these kind of things that are making you angry, if you are in a movement bus and you look very smart in your yellow, why don't you disembark?
No, I think that has been the problem. And actually someone has told me that if you are tired of NRM, because I am trying to speak about this and that, you go to opposition. So it's as if there are people who are comfortable with this kind of situation. And you cannot talk when they are doing something. And the mistake we have done is all those who subscribe to the NRM to keep quiet about corruption, or run away and leave a problem. And you leave now a space uninterrupted.
Somebody wants to tell you something on air. I have a call online. Many of you have been trying to reach out. So let me take a break and listen and give it a moment to be able to have your say. I have a call online. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Kamara. I'm calling from Banalele, Junior Eric.
Go right ahead.
Yes, I would like to thank the former RCC for coming out to be old enough to talk that.
All right, okay.
If you pay one, since to Uganda here, there's no truth because
not very. The line is.
All that Uganda would be a better country for everyone to live in.
That Burora had to stand up and say things the way he said them. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Disembarking means you leave this space uninterrupted. And now the multiplier effect actually becomes so eminent that it becomes a normal. The NRM that has the biggest majority in parliament, caucus can't be quiet when the public is asking for answers. And that is the biggest undoing. And at the end of the day, we are going to come up after elections and ask, where did we go wrong? What happened? Why didn't people vote for us? Why didn't people vote for NRM? Yet we know why. We know the problem. We are not addressing the problem. So asking me to leave, and there are so many people who have asked me to leave, and there are actually quite a number of people in opposition who are trying to say, please come closer, that is not your, no. We have to clean our party. To some of us, NRM is our heritage. We have grown up in this party, we have admired it, we have served under it, we have mobilized for it. We cannot abandon it because of a few. We cannot say that since now this part, everywhere it's going to be dirty. Eventually, everywhere, every corner will be dirty. You went here, you left it dirty, you went there, it became dirty, you left, you went there. So at the end of the day now, everywhere is dirty. How are you going to now say, where else are you going to go? That is one. Two, if we don't hold our party accountable to the public, we cannot edit the foundation of the NRA and the NRM, which is the 10-point program.
You must be,
now we
Anderson, you must be a lonely man in your in your fight?
I don't think so. And eventually I will not be alone.
Do you have company?
Eventually we have company. Like there are so many people actually who are willing to say.
But don't have this spine.
No, we just need a clear direction. We cannot now start editing. We started with this program. Now we are trying to make it a little bit 9 or 10 point programs, because we have failed to address the issue of corruption. Now that one is edited out. We have 9. Another one will come, we have 10. And to the detriment of what? Or of who? And what I think is important now, Kamara, is when we go for election, we mobilize people. And people respond. In our different localities. Why don't we use the same method to abuse corruption? Why don't we use the same method to hold people accountable? We have structures of the party. Let me tell you, Kamara, for you, you are lucky.
Oh.
Why this is disgusting now? My children in school and others are ridiculed. People now fear to associate with the government in the public. Fear, because now when you say, it's no longer now.
I thought it's a popular government.
No, I'm telling
people.
you.
For the people.
I'm telling you, this is what is now. This is the level. So if we say now, you keep quiet, you also eat. I have so many other relatives who are not privileged, like I am. So at the end of the day, the little salary I get, because I have also tried to not abuse the inadequacies, I have to pay for their school fees, I have to pay for their medical care, I have to pay for their needs, I have to cater for them, because I have made myself a god somewhere who is not trying to clean the system so that everyone gets this stream. So why don't we use this method we use to mobilize for political support, to use it to mobilize, to abuse the individuals, that is one. 2, also to hold, because I once told the Secretary General, you have a government you bring to power, but you have no control in the government you brought to power. Yours was to usher in it to power, then after ushering it to power, you went back to sleep. What did you do? What was your rationale? You promised people services. When you are this government, that's why, because we don't differentiate between the parties and governments. When your government does not serve or give the delivery of service you promised people in a campaign, you have to come and whip it. If you brought a minister, if you brought a speaker, if you brought a councillor or a chairman who is not delivering, it is the mandate of the party to whip you. It is not now people to start loitering around, hopelessness, helpless, and everyone now is asking. That's why you're asking me, what next? I should be asking my Secretary General, what are you doing to this? But now, me as a member, it is now me to say what is happening.
Well, your Secretary General at one point when he was Deputy Secretary General,
no, he
stated, Richard Todong, he stated that there was a grand corruption in the party, that corruption will push them out of power if they're not careful.
And lastly, is where we need to be bold as a party and task our chairman, because he's the president. He's the chairman of our party, but also he's the president.
Okay.
It's where we need to task him.
There are two things that okay. You've had enough time, and we're trying to conclude this discussion. Is the president torn between, in your view, is the chairman of the party torn between cleaning up the process, but also regime longevity and survival? Because those are two things that he has to navigate, and probably he finds himself in trouble because. How do you do this? You step on this one and it could come down like a card of dominoes.
You're talking about a balancing act. Now, you see, the whole problem is very, very simple. And Burora here tried to bring it out. First of all, let me get it very clear to you. It has nothing to do with the party. There are certain individuals in all these parties, our political class, by the way. Not only in NRM, different parties, they've got the same sort of habits. And when I look and go back from the time NRM started, there have been some people who have got certain traits. They sit there and threaten the president. The president calls them and he gives them positions. There are those who smear other people. Their job is to smear other people. And they are so good at it that they destroy other people. Baganda call it Rugambo. They go to the president, they say this, they say that, and they destroy other people. And these are the good people they are destroying. Now, good people do not leave the party, they just keep quiet. And this is where the problem is. Ugandans generally are subservient, generally as people. And I think time has come for us to stop being subservient.
All right, I have a call online, and the Ugandans want to call. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, go right ahead. What's your name, sir? Go right ahead. Let me ask my producer to turn down the volume in the studio is too high. Yes, go right ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Kamara, for the program.
Go right ahead.
Oh, now, I thank Mr. Burora for being courteous and don't be like this. This over the villages. People that are suffering in the villages, but they can't talk. But Burora, you were a hero. But my emphasis goes to Francis Babu. Since you are protecting your outreaches, you got. It's dangerous. They come to the medicine. Burora, you were a hero. You better change that tie to red. That tie means there is something to anemic. Something is anemic. You just check the high. It's anemic.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. You've made your point. And, you know, Captain Francis, there's also something that people use jokingly, but it says a lot. And the word called the Gambanogu.
Yes.
You know, like
yes.
Somebody is caught doing something wrong, and then he calls someone senior.
That's right.
Gambanogu, and then he's left off to go.
Yes.
I mean, we can use it as jokingly, but it's becoming part of us.
It's nepotism. Nepotism is a very interesting thing. You see, when you talk about corruption, it's got all sorts of methods. The first thing that made me laugh in the world is if there are office papers, have you put a stone so that the office papers don't jump? This is corruption. But you don't speak very well when you come to this office. You're not a nice man. So there are all sorts of methods used in terms of corruption. I want to say this. Ties, colors don't mean anything. It's the people, the person. And I want to get this out of people's mind. We can do without all these political class we're having right now, deceiving us with the political colors and whatnot. What we want is honesty in this country. The word is one, honesty. And we need people with merits to lead us. And they have to be pragmatic. The things we've just talked about, which is correct, it must stop. And we must find a way to stop it. And if we don't, this country is going to the dogs.
All right, gentlemen, in the interest of time, we're coming to the end, but Anderson, what's going to be your concluding remark tonight?
Well, I think, as I explained, that there cannot be justice in the fight against corruption using systems that are in place, because they all know each other, they know what one has done, they know what one has and how they got it, so they cannot hold themselves accountable. And this has created the classes. I think now we have more lumpens in this country than the citizens themselves. So the issue now is to describe who is the lumpen, the one abusing power or the one who is being underprivileged. But for purposes of sanity, we can see the underprivileged and the lumpens. It is so absurd, and it will be irreversible if we keep compiling lumpens, as I'm just looking for a right word to describe them. If we keep compiling these lumpens into a certain room of anxiety, that once they choose to let out themselves, it will be uncontrollable. In the Bible, I am forgetting the book, there is the lepers. There were about a few of them, they were hungry. So they said, what should we do? If we stay here, we are going to die. If we go where there is food, they are going to kill us. So let's go. They kill us, we know it is over. But in their walking, God multiplied their stamps. Every time they would step, the guards of the granary would hear like a multitude of the army coming towards them. The army ran away, and the lepers found free food. So at the end of the day, you are building mansions, you are growing this, you are building this at the expense of the population. Time will come and this will be useless.
All right. Thank you very much.
It won't help you.
Thank you very much, Captain. What's going to be your parting shot?
I want us to be kind and say that what Ugandans want, Ugandans, I'm not talking about individual, they want a peaceful Uganda where everybody is participating, where everybody gets what's due to them in terms of service, in terms of leadership, and we need to clean it up. So, all that we are saying, we are not accusing anybody. We are saying it can't work the way it is going now. And we need to change. We need to have a mind change. We need to change as people. And I pray that we can get to that level.
Captain Francis Babu, thank you very much. Mr. Anderson Burora, thank you so much. And most of all, you, the viewer, want to thank you for the privilege of your company. I believe we live in a good country and we are good people. Uganda, we've had the tumultuous past, but sometimes we always pull through. Even this one, Ugandans, we shall pull through. Good night and God bless Uganda.